Carl Icahn has been calling for eBay to spin off its PayPal business for more than a month. Now the battle's getting more personal. Icahn is accusing eBay board member and venture capitalist Mark Andreessen of conflicts of interest for his role in the company's sale of video conferencing service Skype. Mr. Andreessen is defending his role on eBay's board, calling the Icahn's allegations false and misleading. He says, quote, "I dispute all accusations that I have violated any of my duties to eBay shareholders. Specifically, throughout the eBay board's process of divesting Skype, I fully disclosed my potential interest and recused myself from all deliberations on the transaction." But this spinoff happened 5 years ago, so why is Carl Icahn bringing it up now? Bill George is a professor of management practice at Harvard Business School and joins us right now from Boston. Great to have you here. Carl Icahn wants to see some change at the board. He's agitating for change, and he's bringing up specifically what he sees as a perceived conflict of interest with Mark Andreessen and the Skype transaction, as well as he cites the conflicts of interest with Mr. Cook and some of his investments in the mobile payment business side of things, other rival businesses. What do you say, Mr. George? Does Carl have a point here?
Thanks, Trish. Actually, I think the whole thing is rather odd that Carl is going after a company that's performing at its peak. If you look at the period since John Donahoe took over, they had a rough time the first year. He made some big strategic changes, spun off Skype, acquired PayPal. The stock's up 465% in 5 years. I mean, what's not to like about that?
Do we have a one-year chart that we can show viewers? The last year's been tough.
I think the company has performed very well. I mean, not every year is perfect, and I look at that board. I know a number of these board members. Mark Andreessen is an outstanding board member. He was, with all the turmoil in the Hewlett-Packard board, he was one of the rocks there that helped him get through those really tough periods going to Meg Whitman. Scott Cook is an outstanding director. Bill Ford has done a wonderful job at his own company and added a lot to the board. Ned Barnhold knows about spin-offs and also. And I think these conflicts have been carefully reviewed back in 2009 by lawyers, and Andreessen recused himself. Cook's investments in any conflicts are de minimis, so I don't understand what it's all about. Why is Icahn focusing on this company and trying to
he's talking about
board members?
Perception here. How much does perception play into all this? Because Matt and I have talked about this. If you were on the board at Ford, Alan Mulally probably really wouldn't like it if you had some, even if it was an incredibly minor investment in, say, GM or pick another car company. Why is that tolerated more in Silicon Valley than it is in other spheres?
Well, there are so many different businesses. People have investments in so many companies, a little bit like the financial industries where people are investing in so many different things. But I think one has to measure that. And I don't see any direct conflict here for these board members. But again, why go back 5 years? I mean, this is an old issue, and I think it's been carefully reviewed. I do agree. I think from the standpoint of good governance, you do not want to have conflicts. You have to review that very carefully. Every board I've been on is very carefully reviewed. And no, you're not going to. I don't buy competitor stocks. Now there is a materiality rule about doing that, but I just make it a practice not to do that. I think one has to be very careful, and I think the directors of eBay need to be very careful as well about these issues. But I don't see in any way it's hindering the company or its performance or the honest discussions to have around that board table. From what I've heard about that board, it's a very open discussion around the table. Take the PayPal issue, which Icahn's been after. It's pretty clear to me that the platform of eBay has been a big boost for PayPal. And conversely, I think having PayPal as an integral part of eBay has helped the eBay marketplace. So the two are playing very well together.
Bill, they do play well together, but wouldn't they play better as separate companies? I mean, we talk to a lot of analysts who say, yeah, of course, eBay has boosted PayPal, and PayPal has been a great boon to eBay as well, but they could function and should function just as well as separate companies. It's only for the benefit of management that they stay together. The shareholders would benefit much more if they would spin it off.
I actually don't agree with that at all. I think like eBay having such a broad customer base, and this gives eBay more customer acquisition at virtually zero cost with PayPal. So no, I think they're playing very well together. It's very similar to the issue that Nelson Peltz is putting on the table with PepsiCo. Should they split up soft drinks and beverages? And Indra Nooyi and her team have demonstrated that they have $1 billion of bottom line benefits by the two playing together. So I don't see this at all.
Well,
I think we can have companies in more than one business.
You know, one of the concerns that's been raised, and let's also put out there that this is not the first we've heard of this. It almost seemed as though every time we were talking about eBay earnings, there was always an analyst who was suggesting that maybe they spin off PayPal. So Carl's not the first to come up with this idea. Perhaps he's the most vocal. But one of the things that a lot of folks in the analyst community do cite is the fact that the business off the eBay platform, the PayPal business off the eBay platform, is growing pretty strong, to the tune of 70% of the off-platform growing at 30%, if that makes sense. I think we've got a terrific graphic that we might be able to bring you and show you, Bill. Whereas the portion that's actually attached to eBay is growing at a much slower rate. And so this is one of the reasons why people are saying it makes sense to divide the two.
Well, I don't get it, because it seems to me that you've got a formula that's working, you've got a business model that's working, it's playing well together, and obviously PayPal is not constrained just to eBay marketplace, so it's got the freedom to go out and build its business, and I think it's a very good model. The problem is we go through an era now where people say they're going to get a short-term stock pop by separating things. You know, 2 years, 3 years from now, they're saying, why don't you already get back together? You're isolated. You need to bring things together. So a lot of these kind of things that analysts say are very short-term consideration. I think John Donahoe's job is to build a great global company and to broaden his platform to get to more users around the globe. Same thing Mark Zuckerberg's doing at Facebook. How do you get a platform that reaches more and more people and serves them? And he saw, I'm talking about Donahoe now, saw the mobile market coming very early. He was one of the first that saw it coming. And the opportunity for mobile payments and these things is staggering. I just think you're not going to be sitting down writing checks anymore. You're going to be doing everything on a mobile basis.
It is a pretty amazing opportunity. I mean, Apple's also looking to get into the mobile payments business, Square. But this goes back to
Bitcoin.
But this goes back to one of Carl's points, which is that in order to stay as competitive as it possibly can, PayPal needs to focus entirely on that business and not have the distraction of this other entity, eBay. And thus, it would be best served just focusing on that.
Yeah. Well, the people I've talked to on the eBay board just don't see it that way. Other people I've known that invest in the company see it as a long-term investment. You know, I don't think activism is a bad thing. I just think that Carl and others, Nelson Peltz, ought to focus on companies that are broken, that have troubles, that are conglomerates, that don't make any sense together. That's where they ought to concentrate, rather than the ones where their business model is succeeding. I don't know why this shift now to the most successful companies. We want to build great global companies here in America. I think that's our goal, and that's what CEOs should be doing, and they should be focusing on building them for the long term. We had people arguing break up Medtronic because our business outside cardiovascular was only 10% of the company and not making a lot of money. Today it's 50% of the company. And so you got to let these things grow and take advantage of PayPal and others providing a tremendous cash flow for reinvestment for John Donahoe and the eBay board. And I think you'll see him take advantage of it and continue to build a great company. That business was broken 5 years ago or 6 years ago when Donahoe got there. Now it's really emerging. And so I credit him with continuing to adapt to changes in the marketplace. And that's what the great Silicon Valley leaders are doing today, is they're adapting rapidly. I can't say that for Microsoft yet, but I certainly can see that happening in Google and Apple and eBay and some of these very successful companies. That's what we need in America. Innovation, go for it, and use a platform like PayPal to really advance the capabilities you have.
All right, well, I am all for innovation, that's for sure. Let's leave it there. Bill George, thank you very much.